People in Toronto's LGBTQ community are voicing their frustrations over how police handled the cases of men who had been reported missing from the city's gay village. Police have now charged Bruce McArthur with 5 counts of first-degree murder. People say they repeatedly raised concerns that a serial killer may be at work. They say they were ignored. And now they're asking police to reevaluate their relationship with the LGBTQ community and take their safety and their concerns seriously. Joining us this morning is Nicki, the director of the Church Wellesley Neighbourhood Association. Good to have you back with us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I want to start when the community first realized there was a link, a connection to disappearances of these men. And when did you notify police?
2010, so about 7 years ago.
And what was their response?
There was no response. There was denial that there were missing people. There was denial that there was an issue. There was a denial that there was a connection. There's a denial of our concerns.
The last time you were here, you talked about the community using old school methods and working within themselves when they realize there may be a problem and help may not be coming quickly. Can you explain some of those to us?
Well, yeah. I mean, as a community, we're used to taking care of ourselves, and many of us older folks remember a time when the police were not our allies in any way, and so we had to take care of ourselves. That means networking, informing people of people who maybe shouldn't be in the neighborhood and maybe represent a danger, and just generally keeping an eye out for each other.
When you see, a press conference like the ones that have been held where, police come forward, they have said they regretted maybe not following up on this idea of a serial killer or saying that there was a serial killer back in December. What's the reaction amongst people in the community when they see that, when they see the acknowledgement that, yes, this was a problem, but maybe 7 years too late?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it right there. It's inadequate at this stage. We've been not complaining, we've been bringing to the fore these concerns, legitimate, well-considered, evenly stated concerns for years, and being ignored. And merely saying this is regret is really, frankly, it's a lack of humility and a lack of contrition. And without those, how can we expect any real change?
In your opinion, why were the concerns ignored?
I think there's several-fold. Number one, I think there was definitely an LGBT bias. There may well also have been a color bias. But frankly, I think there are mechanical issues with the way that missing persons are recorded versus reported in the system. And as we saw just recently, one of the latest victims wasn't even on the radar. That friends perhaps had said he wasn't around, but that it had not been recorded in the police missing person file.
We're learning that those in the sex trade knew of McArthur, had warned about McArthur. McArthur was known in the community. What does this tell you about the relationship between police and marginalized people?
It's profoundly damaged, and the relationship needs more than just remedial work, just to get to zero, frankly. I'm appalled. I mean, in this day and age, this is a very large corporation, a $1.1 billion budget. I don't think we're getting good value for money here.
There are 2 cases that are also still a concern within the community. We haven't seen them publicly addressed by police, and that is Elora Wells and Richie. For people watching across the country who may not be familiar with those names, who are these women?
Well, Richie was a young lady who was reported missing in the Church Wellesley neighborhood and whose report was not taken seriously. Ultimately, her own mother found the body at the bottom of some steps, practically in plain view of the street. Elora Wells was a trans woman who was, again, we tried to report as missing and who our concerns were not listened to. And both of the killers of those people are still at large and not directly connected to this case, we think.
What's it like to be a member of the community right now? What is the feeling when there is a need for help? Where do you turn first?
Well, firstly, I'm proud to be a member of our community. We have resilience, we have courage in our ranks. And so I feel a greater sense of connection, and in a perverse way, even safer because of that sense of community. But the degree of outrage, the simmering outrage, I can't think of a better word to describe it for this, is not just the LGBT. I don't think this is just an LGBT issue. I think this is a Toronto issue.
Some people have said this is maybe not even just a Toronto issue, that there are damaged relationships with police and the gay community right across the country.
Well, I'm sort of kind of local and community-based. I think we can solve the problems if we spiral out from what is, to many people, at least symbolically, the heart of the LGBT community in Toronto and possibly in Canada, maybe even in North America.
Now that the problem has been highlighted, it is making headlines. What's the solution?
Well, the solution is legitimate dialogue, not political doublespeak, but actual dialogue, and that involves very careful listening and action on the part of Toronto Police Services. I'd like to say that the individual police officers that we have in our neighbourhood are fantastic and doing very hard work with very limited resources. It's further up the food chain that the changes need to take place.
Nicki Ward, good to talk to you this morning.
Thank you very much.